Hi, we are from Group AC1105A. We'll be presenting about the impact of small medium-sized enterprises, or known as SMEs. Me, as the first presenter, will explain a bit about what are SMEs. So, SMEs are defined as non-subsidiary independent firms which employ fewer than a given number of employees. As in European Union, the most often upper limit is 250 employees. In some countries, the limit is fixed at 200 employees, while in United States, SMEs are defined as firms with less than 500 employees. Small firms usually have fewer than 50 employees, whereas microenterprises have no more than 10 workers, or in a rare situation, 5 workers. Other than this definition, SMEs also defined by their financial assets. SMEs in the European Union must have an annual turnover of less than Euro 40 million. Next, the topic is about SMEs' contribution in economy. In the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development area, known as OECD, SMEs play a major role in economic growth, providing the source for most new jobs. The importance of SME in the economy is growing as larger companies shrink and outsource more services. Furthermore, the competition inherent in the birth of debt, entry and exit of smaller enterprises has a major impact on productivity growth and as a result of economic growth. This process involves high job turnover rates and training in labor markets, which is an important part of the competitive process and structural change. The next topic that I'm going to discuss is in which sectors are SMEs are found. The service sector, which now accounts for 2/3 of economic activity and employment in OECD countries, employs the majority of SMEs employees. Smaller businesses can be found in many different industries, including wholesale and retail trade, hotel and restaurant businesses, communication and business services, and construction. In many OECD countries, SMEs account for a large percentage of manufacturing firms and generate at least half of manufacturing jobs. In technology-intensive industry like information and communications technology, ICT, and biotechnology, small businesses are becoming more prevalent. SMEs dominate the crucial strategic business service subsector, which includes computer software and information processing, research and development, marketing, business organization, and human resource development. The fact that the average firm size in strategic business services is a fraction of the average firm size in manufacturing or the economy as a whole demonstrates the significance of SMEs in this industry.
Small firm development requires a thriving entrepreneurial sector. Entrepreneurs are people who can recognize opportunities, innovative risk taker, and new goods and services developer. Furthermore, entrepreneurs can fuel overall economic growth through driving business dynamics such as firm birth, expansion, contraction, and death. The availability of entrepreneurial opportunities, the degree of risk-taking, and the mobility of resources are influenced by social, cultural, and political factors in countries. Then, entrepreneurships tend to be different in some regions. It is known for producing clusters that profit from information spillovers and other intangible characteristics. Example that we can take a look: Arezzo and Modena in Italy and Valencia in Spain. There are some benefits that we can get from clustering, which are it is beneficial to small businesses who cannot afford in-house services like training, research, or marketing, improve a group's competitiveness, and allow them to compete internationally. The number of women entrepreneurs is increasing in several OECD nations. Women-owned businesses now contribute for 1/4 to 1/3 of the global business population. The number of women-owned firms is greatly outperforming the total development of new enterprises in some nations, most notably the United States and Canada. Women-owned enterprises should be encouraged to participate more fully in the global economy, with finance tailored to their requirements and education and training that encourage female entrepreneurship. According to survey statistics, 30% to 60% of SMEs in the OECD area are considered innovative in some way. They are less likely than larger companies to perform research and development (R&D), and they may, however, be more likely to innovate in some other way, such as by designing or re-engineering goods or services to satisfy new market demands, implementing new organizational tactics to boost efficiency, or developing new sales strategies. There is a subgroup of high-growth small businesses that excel in innovation. These SMEs are among the fastest growing 5% to 10% of all businesses. In most nations, their rates of employment creation outpace those of bigger corporations. They are usually technology-based and engaged in R&D. These rapid growers are generally integrated into formal and informal networks of firms and primarily found in knowledge-intensive industries and places with high economic activity and clustering. High-growth SMEs are pioneers in developing new goods and markets in a variety of industries.
Okay, first I will discuss financing in SME. The funding gap between SMEs and large firms is huge, and this is a serious obstacle towards SME growth. These funding gaps resulted in wide variations in profitability, survival, and growth. These gaps also exist as a result of SMEs' financial difficulties. This financial problem was caused by several factors. The first is that the owners and managers of SMEs are lack commercial experience and track record as entrepreneurs. Then, there is the uncertainty of production and marketing. Other than that, the environment also contributed to the financial issues, as SME are exposed to high complexity and rapid change while simply relying on intangible assets. And last but not least, because SME is a risky venture, it is difficult to gain trust from banks and traditional lending institutions. The expansion of private equity market is greatly improving SMEs' access to venture capital. Venture capitalists provide more than equity capital to their portfolio companies. They also provide management support, performance monitoring, and modal assistance. And these are very important for SME to develop a steady flow of financing and creating a successful company. Move on to the next topic, which is SMEs in the global market. Smaller businesses have traditionally focused on domestic markets, and many will continue to do so in the future. However, some SMEs are becoming increasingly globalized. For example, manufacturing SMEs. Approximately 25% of manufacturing SMEs are now internationally competitive, and this share is expected to grow. 1/5 of manufacturing SMEs draw between 10 to 40% of their turnover from cross-border activities. And now, SMEs currently contribute between 25 to 35% of global manufacturing exports. Networking in SMEs has also become an important factor in their globalization. Through networking, SMEs can combine the benefits of smaller scale and greater flexibility with economies of scale and scope in larger markets. SMEs can also respond to changing market conditions involving consumer preference compared to larger firms. Small businesses can now reach out to foreign partners more easily thanks to the new communication tools. Government understand that the size of SME commonly prevents them from going global. Through government export credit and promotion agencies, SME exporters can access a wide range of financial and risk management services such as insurance, bank guarantees, marketing tools, and advertising. But at the same time, governments must ensure that their assistance does not completely replace the development of a private market for information services.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is SAKINAHYATI binti Muhammad Maliki. Today I will talk about will SME be affected in electronic commerce and how can SME contribute on sustainable development. First, I will explain about will SME be affected in electronic commerce. The first one is offering considerable opportunities to SME. This is because the development of internet based on electronic commerce provides SME with considerable opportunities to grow their client base, penetrate new product markets, and streamline their operations. E-commerce allows small businesses to personalize products and services, manage supply chains and inventories, and also shorten the time between purchase and delivery. SMEs accrue technology at a slower rate compared to the larger companies. Next, make SMEs more valuable than larger firms. Government in the OECD must continue to liberalize telecommunication markets and guarantee that ICT infrastructure, pricing, and services are competitive. SMEs are also more exposed than bigger enterprises to challenges related to certification, data security and confidentiality, and the statement of commercial disputes due to the difficulty of developing a reputation and gaining customer trust and confidence in their operations. The last one is SMEs should be addressed in creating an effective business environment. In order to create an efficient e-commerce business environment, the demands of SMEs should be addressed carefully. Despite these obstacles, an astounding number of startups have emerged to operate in electronic marketplace, and established small businesses are transferring to electronic commerce, demonstrating what SMEs can do in this sector. The next one, I will talk about how can SMEs contribute to sustainable development. I think SMEs can fill market in the development and sale of environmental goods and services. This is because working with a diverse range of SMEs to develop long-term solutions is a daunting challenge. With advancement in ICT, governments and other stakeholders now have the ability to reach, inform, and influence smaller businesses. Smaller businesses, on the other hand, are less aware of environmental issues and the law that regulate their operations than bigger businesses. They have fewer resources to spend in environmental upgrades. That is all from me. Thank you.
I'm your last presenter, and I will be talking on what governments should do. First, they need to promote entrepreneurship, facilitate firm startup and expansion, and improve access to venture capital and other types of financing. To this purpose, governments are promoting the creation of secondary stock markets to make it easier for venture capitalists to enter and exit the market, as well as lowering taxes on capital gains and other income, and allowing small businesses to use stock options as a form of remuneration. The government is also encouraging the formation of business angel networks which bring together tiny businesses and potential investors. Second, they should decrease the regulatory burden on smaller firms. The most onerous obstacles that SMEs confront include high compliance, expenses, complex and difficult paperwork, and economic regulations that prohibit some activity. SMEs are highly reliant on regulatory frameworks due to their limited bargaining power and overall lack of capital. Third, they should also promote enterprise cluster as it can enhance SME performance and competitiveness. Small businesses working together in clusters can reap the benefits of large businesses while keeping the advantages of specialism and flexibility. In general, the government's engagement in cluster growth is indirect, focusing on supportive skills development and freeing up resources while removing barriers to more enterprise cooperation. The last impact of SME is the role of OECD. OECD stands for the Organization of Economic Cooperation Development. The first role is to discuss SME performance and policies. Small business employment and growth or compare using OECD measures in order to discover the best practice policies, policy approaches and programs in specific sectors such as SME funding and technology diffusion are investigated. The second role is to improve SME statistics. Due to differing size class definitions and sector classifications, international comparability of firm-level data is limited. Current data may overlook the smallest businesses, and certain industries undercount the number of new businesses unit, and they are frequently collected at irregular periods. Enterprise should be followed in order to track survival rates and entry and exit patterns across industries over time. The third role is to expand the collection of comparable cross-country data on smaller firms, including women-owned business, specifically through more complete business registers that do not add to these businesses' administrative or bureaucratic responsibilities.